Hey folks, Malforian here, and today we're going to be talking about Star Trek Infinite. Not good news, unfortunately. They posted an update on the official Discord today, and I will put it up on the screen now, but we're going to talk through it and then have a little chat about the game itself. But I will say, unfortunately, it does sound like not great news if you are a fan of the game. The actual statement they gave out was, "We know you've been eagerly awaiting information about more game updates and a roadmap for Star Trek Infinite. As previously mentioned in our December update, for the last 2 months, we've been working on a solution to deliver you more content. We understand that this week's news about staff layoffs at Nimble Giant raises questions about the future of the game. There were some layoffs, unfortunately, as we've seen across the gaming industry, and Nimble Giant didn't avoid them. There were some staff reductions there. Obviously, that is going to affect game development. I think this kind of shows maybe what we might see in the future. And they say, obviously, they've heard people asking, like, what's happening with the game? What's coming out? Are we getting any DLC? And what are the plans for the future? While they can't give any conclusive statements today, their commitment from December is not changed. Paradox and Nimble Giant are in contact, and they're exploring options. They're going to keep us updated with a solution in light of recent developments. In the meantime, thanks for playing the game and our patience in the process as they're trying to, I guess, work on getting some content into the game." And that is the statement. It is pretty innocuous, I guess. Like, if you read this, you'd think, okay, a bit of a delay. Maybe we'll see some news soon, a roadmap or something like that. Now, what I will say is we saw a very similar statement with Imperator Rome. I mean, in that example, they did say we're putting a pause on production, but everyone understood what that meant. They were basically not going to do any updates for the game, and that panned out, really. If I'm being totally honest, guys, looking at this, I think the game is kind of done at this point with where it is at the moment. If you look at the Steam charts, I'll put it up on the screen at the moment. The player base for this game is very small. It never really took off that much at launch now, which is super unfortunate. I think the game itself, standalone, is actually pretty good. I think it was maybe priced a little bit too much, but the actual game itself, I think, was pretty decent. There was a lot of things, though, that I think they were saving up for DLC, and obviously it looks like that potentially we're never going to get any DLC for this game, which again is unfortunate. They did allow mods, which is great, so you can actually mod this just like Stellaris. And, you know, we could see modders adding a lot of stuff, which we already have. There's some fantastic mods for this game already. So we might see modders kind of taking the baton from the game development team and kind of adding content in the future. Outside of that, I guess we'll just wait and see what's going to happen. Now, as I said, it'll be really unfortunate if this fails. I think Star Trek fans especially have been waiting for a quality Star Trek strategy game. It's been a while since we had one. Or Birth of the Federation or something along those lines. And we were kind of hoping this game would be fantastic. I think it was pretty good. I don't want this to be like the funeral of Star Trek Infinite, but, you know, the game was good. I think there were some issues with the fact that it was, let's be honest, as I put in a video at launch, a reskin of Stellaris. And they weren't like coy about that. They said, look, this is a reskin of Stellaris with our own little twist on it. But I think the problem with that is Stellaris is a fantastic game, but I think it's just that little bit too complicated for the general Star Trek fan. Now, you would think, general Star Trek fan? What a nerdy bunch. But I think the only way this game was going to be really successful was getting like your Star Trek fan who just plays a little bit of gaming here or there and would look at it and think, oh, I can play out my strategy dreams as the Federation or the Klingons. You know, maybe I'll pick this game up and enjoy it. And then they saw either the reviews or they saw that this was based on Stellaris and they've either tried to play Stellaris or they've just heard that Stellaris is a very complicated game to play. We can argue about that in the comments. I think, though, if you don't play grand strategy games, Stellaris is confusing. There's a lot of systems. And I think the funny thing is, I think they almost didn't take enough out of Stellaris for this game. I think there were still too many systems where it just didn't make sense. I know why they did this. They obviously wanted to make it, I'm not going to say cheap. I would imagine the game cost quite a bit to make. But if you almost do reskin the game, you are saving a lot of development time on all these different systems. They didn't have to design them. They could just use the versions from Stellaris and then just change the names of them, basically. In some cases, they didn't even change the names of them and just have them in this game. They did add things like mission trees, but again, we've seen those in other Paradox games, so nothing too crazy. Outside of that, it was very Stellaris-y, which, as I said, like, I enjoyed my time with the game, but I can see how it put people off, or if you played it, you maybe just got bored of it if you played Stellaris before, because it's not that different to it. But anyway, I'm not going to keep you too long today. I just wanted to pass on this news because I did cover this game a lot up to launch, and then unfortunately there wasn't really any news after that. There were some patches which gave some really good updates, fixed a lot of the kind of weird bugs that were with the game. But outside of that, we've really not had any news about content, DLC, free patches, or anything like that. So this would be why, I would guess, because they were working behind the scenes to try get something done. And if I had to put my money on it, I'd say we're probably not going to see any more content for the game, if I'm being honest. It would be fantastic to be proved wrong, and we do. But if I'm honest, I think the game's probably done at this point because, as I say, if you look at the player count, there just isn't the players playing it. I can't see how they get a return on the investment. There's obviously all the work to go into doing an expansion. And then it is a Star Trek license. You know, they've got to pay the Star Trek license holders, Paramount, I believe, at the moment, to have that content and things like that. I just can't see how they would ever make the money back to do it. Anyway, we'll leave it here for today. As always, I will cover this game if there's any updates in the future. Hopefully there's some good news coming out of this. It would be fantastic. Obviously, it's terrible to see staff reductions at any of these game studios. The people there are just trying to make fantastic games for us, and this always happens, unfortunately, around the industry as a whole. So hopefully the people that are left there, they do get some kind of agreement with Paradox to continue supporting this, or something else they do. I know they've done games, obviously, before Star Trek Infinite, so if they can work on something else themselves, they can get some cool games coming out in the future. But yeah, we'll leave it there for today. If you are new here and this is your first video, I cover grand strategy games, a lot of Crusader Kings, Paradox Interactive titles, but also other historical strategy games as well. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you in the next one.